Deb Bunnell here. I am a teaching artist with Southern Alleghenies Museum of Art and also the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. Welcome to part 2 of Strength in Mixing Colors. In part 1, we learned about the colors of acrylic paint, we did a color wheel, we learned the terms primary, secondary, complementary, and analogous, and we worked on using a grid to draw on your canvas from a reference. We also divided our canvas that we're going to use into 9 equal parts. You can make your subject whatever you want to. So it could be abstract, it could be any kind of drawing you want, just as long as there's part of it in each of the 9 squares. On mine, we did the primaries on top, the complementary colors going across the middle, and across the bottom are combinations of the secondary colors. Ready to paint?
Here is the red and blue rectangle we painted at the end of part 1. I have the feeling we'll add to it at the end of part 2. Let's see what happens when we mix red and yellow. Of course, we know that makes orange. And most people might think you take an equal part yellow and an equal part red and get orange. But look, I'm taking a tiny piece of red to mix with this yellow, and I am going to get almost red. It's a very reddish orange. I'm going to need to add a lot of yellow to make that look like orange. The nice thing about this red is it leans a little toward orange on the color wheel, and so when we mix it with yellow, we get a really nice bright orange. It's not quite as bright as a cadmium orange you would get from a tube, but it's pretty darn near. They'll make some good fire colors. Now, if we add some white to some of these colors, we can see how we get sort of coral and pale orange. We start getting some skin colors for Caucasian people with these colors, at least in the brighter parts of the skin. And when we mix white with yellow, let's see how that does. It makes it a little more opaque, so you can barely see the blue lines through it. Plain old yellow, you can see those blue lines straight through. So if you wanted something bright yellow in a painting, you should either put it on the white canvas and leave it, or put white down first and then put yellow over it. I'm going to tell you where I think I'm going to go with this section here, and then I'm going to turn it into time-lapse photography so you aren't just watching paint dry for half hour or so. So the darkest color I have, I think I want to be in the eye outline. And remember, I made these squares contain yellow because I thought I might want yellow eyes. That red is not going to go down there. I'll get that later. And there will be some other dark details in this. Some creases in between hair. They could be red. Just to show the darkest shadows in the hair. And since the ear is kind of hidden behind hair, we'll probably make that mostly red. Just roughing it in here to give an idea. On the first rectangle, we did a cloudy, impressionist, very soft background. But I remember what was charming about some of the pieces students did was them putting designs into the background. So what if we had stripes in this guy's background? And what if they were kind of close together in value? Maybe a reddish orange and a yellowish orange. It got a little watery. Let's see what that does for us. And there will be some areas of whitish yellow. very lightest areas. Probably, well, right below the eye. That was a white. I hardly ever use pure white because it can be kind of a dead color. So I usually work a little bit of some kind of color into it. And some of the parts above his eyebrow and his forehead, that could be fairly light. And there are parts of his mane that would be hit by the sun. I think starting right around here, it starts getting blondish. There will be more blondish hairs down there. And up on top, we might have a hit or two of blonde. And the oranges, let's see, some pastel oranges. Oh, that's almost lion colored there. That is a nice golden orangish. And I imagine there will be a lot of that within the mane too. And whatever's on the edges of the mane here is going to have to contrast with the stripes up there. So you'll see as I go along if I end up loving the stripes or if I need to change them into something else. Here we go. Our next rectangle is going to include the primary colors blue and yellow. This ultramarine blue might have a bit of the purple to it. It might lean towards purple. So the green these two colors make, it's not going to be a bright green. In fact, it'd be a great green for landscape painting because it's natural looking. You can get a light version of that. See how just that little bit of blue left in there really eats up the yellow. I'm going to get some of that off my brush so I can add some white to it and see what that. Oh, that's like a nice spring green. See, the yellow is still a little bit green, even though it barely has green in it. Get super pale with that. Let's go the other way and see what our blue does with just a little bit of yellow. Oh, it's like a deep sea green blue. That's pretty. And even less yellow. Yellow is just muting that blue down just slightly. Even though there's not much yellow in there, it has the power to mute that ultramarine blue. Now let's see what color that is. Ooh, that's nice. Yeah, these are, the colors with more blue in them are pretty mellow. And when you start getting more yellow in them, they pop. So this can be some really nice combinations for this square. Let's figure out where we're going with the blues and yellows. Right around the eye, I want that part to be dark. You might notice you can barely see the lines now. I got a little frustrated with the the Sharpie lines because they bleed through acrylic paint like crazy. So I actually used a blocking out paint I had used in a mural called Zinsser Bullseye. And, well, that's a little large. We'll use some white to take that down. So that will be dark. The lion has this, yeah, I don't think the marker will show through on this one. It's still showing through a little bit on the red and yellow one. So there's a lot of darkness in this middle area here. And he has this eye has even more eyebrow expression than the other one did. We'll get some greens in there. And this is part of the other eyebrow, although the eye's completely in the other square. There will be dark going down here. And the ear will be pretty dark. Let's see if we can, there's that ear. And we'll try to figure out something fun to do with the background right up in this corner. Okay, time for some time-lapse paint. The three rectangles in the middle row will all be complements of each other: red, green, orange, blue, and yellow and purple. So yellow and purple will be right below yellow and blue, and purple looks almost black there. Let's see what just a little bit of purple does with yellow. Wipe some of that off. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. You get some really neat shades of tan with purple and yellow. Make yellow sort of golden. Maybe down here the light's better. Golden yellow. And I think this always surprises people that you get such a nice shade of tannish brown from purple and yellow. Okay, there it's real purplish. Let's get it to the point where it's not purple anymore. There. It's a nice medium brown. Now let's just see if we can budge purple away from being so purple. It's still very dark. That yellow hardly did anything. So we're going to add some white to let the purple sing a little more. Okay, wipe some of that off. Let's just add some white to pure purple to see the difference. See the brightness of just plain white and purple, and see the more subtle color of purple with some yellow added. And these are some of the darker colors. I didn't really give an idea of what pale colors would look like. There we go. Kind of lost that nice brown, but we can get that back again. Ready for some time lapse. next two complements for the complementary row of colors. Orange and blue tend to make the closest to gray. They tend to neutralize each other right to a gray, more so than the other two, which you don't really see until you add some white. But look how gray that is. What a beautiful shade of gray. And you can make it lean warmer, a warmer gray. You can make it be a cooler gray. When they're mixed directly together, you can still get a brown, or you can get a really deep gray. So let me get some of this gray off the brush and do a little bit of pale orange. And you can use the complement just to knock back the other color slightly. If you just don't want it so bright, the complement's a great way to knock the other one back. I think we're ready for some happy music and some fast painting. For the last rectangle in our row of complementary colors, we have the Christmas colors, green and red. This is phthalo green. It has a little bit of a blue hint to it. Let's see what happens. When we mix the red, it looks probably almost black. We'll add some white to give it more of a voice. There you can see it's sort of a mossy green, a toned down blue-green. So that's the way Pyrrole red, this medium red, that's the way it's going to tone down this green. The phthalo green by itself with white is more of a brighter. It can even be turquoise and tend towards aqua-ish. Let's see if it has more red than green in it. What does the green do to the red? It grays it down. That blue and the green even takes it toward the purple. So those are the colors we'll be dealing with in this last square. And because so much of the square is the lion's body, I think I'm going to have fun with some texture in it after I do the mane. Okay, we're on our last row, and it's going to be combinations of the secondary colors. The first rectangle will be orange and purple. Will it look like orange and blue, or will it be more similar to purple and yellow? Well, let's see what we get. Oh, that's a nice chestnut brown kind of. Add some white so you can see it better. It's a brown. That brown's leaning a little toward purple. If we add some orange, it's a toned down orange. So purple would be a nice color to add to orange to tone it down a little bit. And let's see if what orange does with purple. We'll add some white to see for real. Yeah, it just makes a more muted shade of purple. Let's see what the pastels look like. Here's a plain purple for comparison. All right, let's get to it. These two secondary colors are purple and green. This purple has a lot of blue in it, and so does the green. So this is no magic trick. I would not be surprised if a mixture of these two colors looks pretty blue. Oh, that's a purplish blue. Let's see if we can, what happens if we add more green. Wow, it's getting to be kind of blueberry colored. Lavender. What if the whole thing really leans green? What does purple do to the phthalo green? It just softens it. It's hard to tell without a little bit of white in. Doesn't do a whole lot to the green. Here's phthalo without the purple. It is brighter without the purple. So this should be an interesting one. this is our very last rectangle on the bottom row. We're combining the two secondary colors, phthalo green and cadmium orange. Phthalo green has a lot of blue in it. Orange has a lot of yellow. Let's see what they do. I'm predicting sort of an olive green. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's still shining with blueness. That orange is going to knock back the blue of the phthalo green quite a bit. Get like a sage green. Let's see what it does to the orange. That's still pretty green. It's getting brownish though. I have a greenish brown or an orangish brown. What's that look like with a little white? Oh, that's a nice tan shade there. Okay, ready for the last rectangle. Let's do a little bit more with this one. Okay, here is our finished lion. This one was shot outdoors, and I brought him inside, and the colors seem warmer inside. I love how the composition came out. The eyes, which are what you are attracted to first, are about at the 1/3 mark, and you can follow each color around the canvas. It just doesn't occur in one spot. Follow the oranges, the reds, the purples, the blues. We're going to go into each rectangle, check them out closer. Our beginning one, it's still the most mellow one. Here's red and yellow and all the peaches and corals. Yellow and blue, making a very mellow green. Now down in the complementary row, this is where I think it gets more interesting, because if you have two complementaries, if you think about it, you really have all three primaries. With purple, you have red and blue, and there's yellow. With this one, you have blue plus the yellow and red that make up orange. I just love all the grays that come with with orange and blue. You get your warm and your cool grays. Here is red and green. It's a more mellow one. Right below it, we're getting into mixing two secondaries together. And this purple and orange, you can see why they're kind of Halloween colors. They go together very nicely. In this one, with the green and purple, I felt like I was using two analogous colors because it's just such a mellow blend of color. This green and orange one, if you saw one of these colors like a greenish brown on your palette, you might think, oh, that's a yucky color. But really, look how it just lays in there with all the phthalos and cadmiums. Here he is again, strength in mixing colors, or just strength for short.